Welcome to the Not Superheroes Gets Dads podcast. No, we can't fly. No, we can't shoot lasers or pick up giant buildings. But what we can do is help set the foundations for our families, be present for our kids, and combat generational cycles. On this podcast, we dive into everything dad related, from the struggles we deal with as fathers to what our favorite thing to barbecue is. Hello, I'm Shawn, and I hope you guys are having an amazing Monday. Man, if you guys saw, was it yesterday, how crazy it was with the Niners and Lions game. Obviously, that was crazy, and the way that the Niners fought back was hey, that was very entertaining, I should say, right? And then what can I say when it comes to Mahomes? At this point, it's almost like he's I don't know, the MJ of football, because for whatever reason, it's hard to beat that guy, right? It's hard to beat that guy. But with that being said, guys. I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I think is something very interesting, right? It's more so of a transitioning when it comes to our kids. And when I'm saying transitioning, I'm talking more so when they're going into adulthood, right? When they're going into adulthood, because that's a whole different dynamic, right? Even for us, right? I know for me, I remember growing up and being in that transitional period and going from, high school, being a student, having my parents, or I should say having my mom telling me what needs to be done, constantly watching over me type of situation, right? Making sure that I'm doing X, Y, and Z, to me now being in college and making my own schedule, right? And deciding if I want to get up or not get up, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're in college, the teachers don't care if you go or not. So I just remember that, and I remember as well being out the house at, I want to say 18 or 19, one of those things. Because I lived, actually was in actually, let me backtrack some. So as we get older, especially as young men, right? Like, we get in this place where, hey, you're not gonna tell us what to do. I'm going to do what I want to do, right? And that's why I think it's so important for us as fathers and to have that male figure in the household, because we're going to try to test our mothers, right? We're going to really try to test them. But I got to the point basically where I wasn't really trying to deal with my mom. We was bumping heads a lot. And so I was living with my grandparents for a little bit. I want to say between 16, 17, and then either 18 and 19, either 18 or 19, one of the two. I left, and I was pretty much house hopping, right? I was staying with friends, families, or whoever I was dealing with at the time, right? So that's what I was doing, just trying to figure it out on my own. And the funny thing is, like, my mom had no clue. None of my family really had a clue what I was doing. They knew I was fine, but they didn't really know, like, certain things that I had to deal with, right? And I had to really figure out some stuff on my own. And so with that being said, right, that transitional period is crucial, right? It's crucial, not only for our kids though, but also for us as parents, right? As fathers, right? Because there's different stages. There's different stages when it comes to our kids, right? And so the first stage I like to say is, I call that like the image stage, right? The image stage. And just think about that when you first found out, you was having your son, your daughter, right? And you're in the stage of, okay, what type of father I want to be, right? I'm going to make sure I do this. So my father never did this, so I'm going to do that. Or my father did do this, and I like this. Or, I said I would be this type of parent, right? And so that's the first stage. That's even before your child is actually here. And then when your child is here, then you have that nurturing stage. Now, with the nurturing stage, as fathers know, especially when the baby, the first, 6 months, 7 months, maybe even longer at times, right? Where it's like, dang, I can't do much with I can't do much with this baby, because at the end of the day, the baby's being breastfed. The baby's constantly on mommy's hip, right? And so at that point, we're just more so there for support, and more so we try to make sure we bond with our child as much as possible, right? In that nurturing stage, that's very early. And then you have I call it the authority stage, right? And that's as they get older, what, two, probably what, between 1, 2, and like 8 years old, right? You're setting guidelines, you're setting rules, you're setting boundaries, right? You're letting them know what is acceptable, what's not acceptable, and even with that, right? You're at least for me with my daughter, right? Like my youngest daughter, right? So she knows, hey, I can't wear this. Dad's not gonna let me wear this because this shirt is too short, right? Or hey, I can't wear these shorts because they're too small. Different things like that. Like I'm setting boundaries, I'm setting rules, so she can understand what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, right? So that's another stage as fathers what we go through, and then this one is, I call it the explaining stage, right? Where a lot of times this is when they're in school actually, or just starting school, right? They seem to have 1,000 questions, right? Oh man, why is the sky blue? Oh dad, why do you only eat chicken with hot sauce and not ketchup or something like that, right? Just some random things that they're asking. But in this stage, right, this is when also we're able to have a real influence on them as well, because we're teaching them different things, right? We're also teaching them, if you're spiritual, right? We're whatever you believe in. For me, I believe in God, right? So you're going to really explain and really try to explain to them why this is important, why certain values that you hold dear to you, whatever core values you have, you're going to explain why that is, right? And there's also, though, when they're going to also have questions and maybe even get examples from their peers, good or bad, right? But they might get influence from their peers because they're going to be like, oh man, okay, why did, I don't know, why did so-and-so be a class clown, right? Let's just use that for example. Like, why is my friend over here? Why is this kid over here a class clown? Everyone likes him though, right? So, oh man, okay, maybe that's what I wanted to do because I want to be liked, right? And then the other stage, I would say, is probably the independent stage. The independent stage, that's middle school, high school for sure, right? Where now you're putting more so on their plate, or you should be, right? A little bit more on their plate. You're trusting them with certain situations. Hey, you're going to be home by yourself. I got to run this errand. Or, hey, you know what? You're going to have to make dinner tonight, right? You're going to have to do certain things by yourself. And the independent stage as well is they have more of a voice, where before you was their voice for every situation, right? Hey, no, you're doing this. Hey, you're not doing that, right? But now they have more of a voice. They have more of a say. And you guys are able to make decisions together, right? Or what I like to say is at this stage, you're almost more so like a consultant, right? Because they're getting ready for adulthood. And then from there is the last stage is the departure stage, right? And when I say departure, that doesn't mean like they leave our lives or anything like that, but departure stage as far as maybe they're leaving home for college, maybe they just moved out, right? Some of y'all, I'm sure you can relate, where it's like, man, at 18 years old, I was either kicked out of my house or I was on my own, right? So the departure stage like that, or just departing maybe more so just, hey, you know what, I'm making certain decisions on my own, and I don't necessarily need you to constantly be trying to make those decisions for me. Now the funny thing is, with all those that I pretty much listed, besides the image stage, how we think we're going to be as fathers until we actually get into fatherhood, and we're like, oh, it's not like how I thought it was, right? Or it is how I thought it was. All those stages, though, the nurturing, the authority, the explaining, the independent, that's all kind of lumped into one, right? When you all think about, like, we're constantly doing that regardless as fathers, right? And then the departure stage, though, we have to trust as fathers that we've given our kids the correct tools to be able to succeed without us, right? Or be able to have a good idea with certain situations. Oh man, okay, you know what? I'm hanging out with this certain group, and my dad warned me about these people. They don't have the best interest for me. Man, they cool people. I like hanging out with them, but I gotta kind of keep my distance because I remember my dad said, or oh man, you know what, I like this chick, or I like this dude. But I remember with my dad put me on game when it came to certain guys, right? I say that because that's what I do with my oldest, right? She's 18 now. I'm in that stage now where, somewhat of a departure. She's still with us, but she's a college student. She's making certain decisions on her own, right? There's things that I don't necessarily agree with that she does. Nothing major, but like, for example, like she loves fast food, right? And for me, I'm like, man, you could just save some of that money to get something else, right? But understanding, okay, it's okay that she wants to, get Chick-fil-A today, then get Wingstop tomorrow because she has to learn. Because then she's going to realize, oh, okay, I understand what Dad was talking about. Because, man, I wanted to go on, a trip with my friends, and I don't have the money to go on the trip, right? So let me actually scale back some. But it's just more so making sure, though, with my kids. And like I said, my oldest for sure right now, because of the stage she's at in her life, it is more so letting her making her decisions, but being there as well to be able to be in that explaining stage with her, right? Where when she does still have questions, okay, hey Dad, why is this happening, or how do I go about this situation? Now, as she's 18 now, and you're still young. At 18, you still have really no clue what you're doing, right? I say till like, honestly, like maybe mid-20s is when you really start having like a good idea, like 24, 25, when you really just, man, I know exactly what I need to do with certain situations. But let's be honest, at 22, you still easily can have a young mindset, right? A high school mindset, honestly, right? Because you're not that removed from high school, right? You're only a few years away from high school. So to you, it wasn't that long ago. So, but yeah, for me, just making sure that I'm preparing my kids. Like I said, I'm using my daughter as an example, my oldest one, making sure she's prepared for certain situations. Because think about it, we were lost, right? We didn't know certain situations. We might have sucked when it came to money, or we didn't know anything about credit cards. So we're just getting credit cards thinking it's free money, not understanding, oh man, okay, we actually have to pay that back. What the hell? Oh man, okay, what am I going to do now? Now I'm in debt, right? Or, not understanding, hey, to get a car, you don't necessarily have to go strictly through the car lot, CarMax or whatever it is to get your car loan through them. You can go through the bank and then go to the car dealership, right? Like different things like that we didn't know, and now we have the knowledge, but it took us a while. It took us to make certain mistakes, right? So our kids are going to do the same thing, but that's why it's so important and so key for us to lay that groundwork as they're growing up. I say, man, we got 18 years to help prep our kids, right, to be the best version of themselves. And at the end of the day, we just gotta trust what we did and let them live their lives, right? We can't be in a place of all of a sudden, oh man, my son did this or my daughter did that, and then we start looking at it like we did something wrong as a parent. Instead, we have to look at it like, oh man, okay, you know what? My son ended up having I don't know, a kid with someone that he probably shouldn't have, right? That's a learning situation for him. Okay, dang, but I'm gonna still be there for him and trust that, hey, he's gonna be able to get through this, right? Or same thing for our daughters, right? We just have to not take it so personal, because I see that happen at times. Because I worked with families for a while, right? And I would see that a lot where they would take things personal, or they would even try to shame their child, right, as they're into adulthood. Excuse me. And so because of that, though, now all of a sudden your son or daughter starts drifting from you, right? And then you start seeing those stories where it's like, oh, have you talked to your son, your daughter? They're like, man, we haven't talked in 5 years. We haven't talked in 6 years. And now it's more so because they couldn't respect the fact that now my child is no longer just a child. Yes, they are your child, but you have to also understand that now they're in adulthood, right? Like I said, 18, I'm not saying at 18 years old, all of a sudden, you got to treat them like they know everything. No, but it has to be a gradual thing where, hey, okay, I'm trusting you to make certain decisions. I'm trusting you to handle business at school, right? Same thing I said for me, where I had no one checking for me when I was in college. Same thing for my daughter. I ask her questions, but at the end of the day, it's up to her now if she wants to get the work done, right? Like, this is what you have to do, and you're the one that's going to be paying for the books, right? So just putting that ownership on them, and I think at times we struggle with that, right? Or I see it, I've dealt with that too, where um, it was almost like a power struggle where I'm married, have a family, and I knew it was difficult for my mom to almost accept that, right? Because it's like, hey, I'm married now, and my wife comes first before you, right? I love you very much, but my wife comes first. And biblically, that's how it's supposed to go too, right? So for me, that was a struggle for a while because, which I get it. It took me a while to understand. Like, I was frustrated. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I was getting annoyed at times, but I had to look at it from her point of view. Like, man, she's still looking at me as her little boy, as her son, and not as a man, right? And at times, we have to have those difficult conversations with our own parents, right? And same thing, you might have to have a difficult conversation when your child's at that adulthood, with your child, right? Or they might have to have a difficult conversation with you, I should say. And how are you going to respond to that? Are you going to respect your son if he's, hey, Dad, I appreciate what you've done, this and this, but Dad, let me rock. Let me do what I'm supposed to be doing. Stop trying to dictate everything, because, right, especially as fathers, we're protectors. We want to protect our kids, our sons, for sure, our daughters, right? But we have to, again, trust everything that we've done for those 18 years, that we set that foundation, and believe that it's going to work itself out, and not be trying to dictate everything. Those dictator years are over, right? That's when they was a toddler in elementary, where you constantly dictate everything for them, right? You're trying to control every situation, but we have to understand, okay, we have to let that go. Now, to be fair, for us men, for us fathers, we do a pretty good job, I think, of being able to let our kids fall and make mistakes, right? Where I've seen it oftentimes where it's the mother, because again, mothers are more nurturing. They're constantly trying to watch all the kids' steps, making sure, hey, okay, no, step over here, hey, do this over here, do that, right? We're better at making sure that our kids understand it's okay to make mistakes at times. But with that being said, we also, as fathers, can get in the place of trying to almost live through our kid too, though, right? Or we're trying to push our kid to go in a certain direction, right? Instead of, hey, you know what? No, let me trust what I've instilled in my son and my daughter, and be okay with the results, right? Be okay with the results. And I mean, again, as fathers, though, we never stop being that, right? As parents, we never stop being that, of course, but we'll never stop being a father to our kids. It's just understanding that at a certain stage, they don't need us as much anymore. They're always going to need us. We're their parents. We're their fathers. They're always going to need us, but understanding that we're going to have to let go, and it's okay. And what I've noticed, and it happens a lot actually, so with sons for sure are quicker to leave than daughters, right? Sons are going to have their own family, do their own thing, because again, as men, we're providers, right? So they're going to focus on providing for their family. They're going to make sure that their family's straight. Doesn't mean that they don't love their parents, but they're going to be focused on their family. Where again, women are more nurturing, so they're constantly going to be checking up on us, making sure we're good, right? And a lot of times, if you notice too, like, as at least from my experience and what I've seen, but as fathers get older, it's the daughters that's taking care of their dads more than the sons, right? Because the sons are out doing, like I said, their own thing, trying to figure out how to either make more money for their family, trying to figure out how to provide in other situations, right? So they're focused on that. So with that being said, guys, I just wanted to really just dive into that because I know it's a topic that we struggle with, right? Not just fathers, mothers as well. Like it's different. It's different in a transitional period. And like I said, just like it's difficult for them or it's a new thing for them and they want their independence, right? They're hey, you remember that stage where you was at, I'm 18, I can do this, or I'm 21, I can do this, right? So they want that independence. So it's different for them because it's like, oh, I have a little bit more freedom, or oh, I'm more responsible. And then as they get older, right, they're like, dang, I actually don't like, I don't like necessarily having all these responsibilities, but this is what comes with adulthood. That's the funny part. We all want to hurry up to get older. Then when we get older, we like, dang, it wasn't as cracked up as we thought it was. Dang, I didn't realize my dad was doing all these things for me behind the scenes. I was just showing up, right? So yeah, guys. So I just want to, like I said, I just want to really just dive into that because it is something that isn't easy. I'm going through it now myself. It's definitely a blessing, but it's a different stage of life. And with me having 4 kids and all my kids and being in different stages, right? So it's that balancing act as well. But yeah, it's just all a part of growth. It helps us grow as parents too. Like I listed all the different stages that us as fathers deal with. That as we're going through parenthood, right? They're going through different stages too, man. They're going through different stages. But like always, guys, remember to like, remember to subscribe. I appreciate you guys' support so much, man. And shout out to my boy Lamar too. Like I told y'all, he's been busy with the coaching and basketball stuff, man. But we're gonna keep rocking. We're gonna keep rocking. But yeah, guys, like always, you don't have to be perfect, but remember, you always have to be present. I'll see you guys.